Yo! Yeah, I don't know how to start this episode. But anyway, we're back with another episode of Is This What It Is? And I'm your host, Gunvid. Yeah! So I said I was gonna wait till the middle of the summer, you know, to be back, but I was like, I don't know, I just felt like doing a podcast today. But anyway, yeah, it's good to be back, you know, podcast and shit. Alright, yes, I want to talk about the NBA Finals. It's cool. I don't even know. I'm like fucking... I'm like trying to talk about the finals, but I wanted to say it's cool to be back on the podcast, because it's like, yo, bro, what? I remember what I was gonna say. It's cool to be back on the podcast and not like doing a fucking podcast over a instrumental, because it's like, you know, I'm like trying to talk about shit, but then I feel like I gotta rhyme, even though I can't hear the beat when I'm recording and shit. But it's like, yeah, it's cool to be back and just, you know, not have to like try to fucking fake rap or whatever. But yeah, the NBA Finals, man. So I know there's probably a lot of Knicks fans that are like fucking wishing the Pacers lose, and I'm like, at this point, I don't really care. But here's the thing I wanted to say that I haven't heard anyone else say, and I don't know if any other Knicks fans feel this way. I doubt it. Maybe I'm the only one. But look, right, in game one of the Knicks versus the Pacers, when Halliburton made that, game-tying two-pointer to force overtime, when he did that, right, the whole play right there, when he fucking, you know, he kind of crossed up Bridges right there. Oh, and you know, I'm happy I'm back on the podcast because I could, you know, talk about that play right there. Okay, so let's go back real quick. Remember when Bridges stole the ball from Jaylen Brown? And, you know, we pretty much won that game for the Knicks. Even though he got the steal and it ended up being a good play, that's not a fucking good defensive play from Bridges. Even though he's a great defensive player. But, like, as far as, like, going for the steal in that moment, I think it's better to just, you know, try to defend any shot attempt, because that's what went wrong when he was guarding Halliburton on that final play in regulation in game one. Because Bridges, for no reason, he's going for the steal. It's not like the Knicks were down. You're up 2 points at that point. Why are you going for the fucking steal? So he went for the steal, and then, you know, Halliburton got past him, and then I think it was Mitchell Robinson went up to defend him, and then Halliburton went back, kind of went for a three-pointer, And, you know, his foot was just ahead of the 3-point line. But yeah, and then, after going for the steal, Bridges wasn't in a good spot to defend the shot attempt by Halliburton. So it's like, bro, you fucked up, bro. And then the Knicks are all, like, Knicks fans and everyone, they're like, oh, what the fuck, bro? We gave up 5 first-round draft picks for this guy. But it's like, Bridges, he in that playoffs, he proved that he was worth the trade. But what I think about that trade is like, fucking, how does the Knicks even have 5 fucking first-round picks? And it's like, what the fuck, bro? They couldn't give 4 first-round picks. You give 5 first-round picks. But anyway, I didn't want to even talk about that too much. Bridges, he's still a great player, and I'm looking forward to how the Knicks are going to look next season, and if they get Giannis or KD or whatever. They fired Tom Thibodeau, and everyone's all surprised. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck, bro? Like, shut the fuck up, bro. How are you surprised that he got fired? It was his 5th year, and he made the Eastern Conference Finals in his 5th year. Like, okay, cool. All right, you made it to the conference finals, but you didn't make it to the finals. And then you're doing dumb shit to where it was like the Knicks could have fucking won that series and made it to the finals if they had better coaching. And then everyone that was like, oh, why'd they fire Tom Thibodeau? They were all fucking complaining about him and the stupid shit he was doing the whole season in playoffs. Not resting his starters, not fucking drawing up good plays. You're over there sitting there watching Towns and Anunoby fucking argue on the bench, and you're not being like, yo, shut the fuck up, focus on the next play. You have to have fucking Brunson go in and try to stop them from arguing. And then they started looking at him like, yo, shut the fuck up, They kind of started, like, arguing with him. So it's like, you're a coach and you're fucking sitting right there and you're not saying nothing. And he didn't draw up any great plays. As far as I know, he didn't fucking do shit. I mean, you had Jeff Teague, who's fucking hilarious. Like, he's one of the best podcasters, period. But, Jeff Teague, he was like, yo, he had Tom Thibodeau as a coach. And he's like, yo, bro, Thibodeau doesn't fucking say anything. He just says, damn. Like, he's like, oh, damn. If their team, like, starts losing or whatever. They got heat. I don't know what the fuck anyone's talking about with, crying about him being fired. Like, bro, what the fuck does he even do? They talk about him being a great defensive coach. Like, bro, if you're a great defensive coach, how the fuck is your team, pause, blowing a fucking 20-point lead multiple times, or at least even once? How does that happen? You're a great defensive coach. You can't stop the other team for 1 quarter? What the fuck are we even talking about here? So, it's looking like they're going to get Mike Malone to coach the Knicks. And, at this point, as a Knicks fan, I'm just fucking... Even before, like, not even just at this point. Years ago, I just lost faith in the Knicks winning a championship anytime soon. And that was like 20 years ago. Actually, even before that, even fucking, maybe even 25 years ago. Because I'm 30. So I'm like, since the beginning of me fucking watching the NBA, the Knicks haven't ever been shit but a good regular season team. You know? And I think they had a great team. Like, I used to really enjoy watching fucking the Knicks play when they had Melo and JR and Shumpert and Amari and fucking Nate Robinson and Felton and all that. But it's just like, even with that team, you just kind of knew, like, they're not going to fucking do shit when it comes to the playoffs, because it's not, it might not even be their fault. There's something about the Knicks. I don't know what it is, bro. Oh, yeah, I was thinking about it. Okay, so I do know what it is. Okay? And a lot of people have been, like, talking about this. Like, what is up with the Knicks? Why don't they fucking win? It's because there's too many sexy women in New York City, okay? Now, even if you're, like a regular nigga, you could bag mad bitches in New York City. Not even being a celebrity, let alone a fucking NBA player in the city, right? You could be a regular nigga working a regular job in New York City and bag mad fucking bitches. So imagine as a player, as an NBA player, them niggas, you know, they're distracted by all the fucking sexy women and all the fun there is partying in New York City. So that's what it is. I figured it out, bro. It doesn't matter if we get Kevin Durant or fucking Giannis or even both. I'm telling you, bro. I know it's not going to happen, but, like, if the Knicks got Giannis and Kevin Durant without even having to trade anyone, like, somehow, if they were free agents and the Knicks signed them, even if they didn't have to trade anyone for them, they would still lose, bro. It's because there's too many sexy women in New York City. I mean, like, I'm not saying too many like it's a bad thing. I mean, like, too many for them to be focused on basketball. And in my opinion, you can't have too many bad bitches in the city because, you know, that's a great thing. But for a basketball player and a basketball team, I just think it's too much. And I just thought about LA, right? And how, like, oh, why do the Lakers win so much? You know, LA is more of, like, you know, the city, like, physically, I'm talking about the land, it's more, like, kind of spread out, you know? Maybe that's why. I'm just talking shit. But it's like, yeah, like, you know, Manhattan is, like, pause, it's kind of like a small borough. So, like, it's like a bunch of fucking sexy women in one building. And it's like, they're all trying to, you know, they don't want to be alone in the club. So, like, they're all like competing for, like, one guy or, like, a couple guys. And then you end up having, like, one guy with, like, 3-4 bitches he could fuck. You know, I've had experiences like that. So it's like, yeah, you know, I got 3-4 bitches to myself, and I got, you know, and I'm a fucking NBA player. You think I'm gonna give a fuck if I win or lose, nigga? I'm winning. I'm winning in life. I got 4 bitches on my dick. What are we even talking about? So yeah, I'm done, bro. Until the Knicks win a finals, I don't care if they fucking make a finals. That doesn't count to me anymore. I'm not gonna get my hopes up for the Knicks to potentially win a finals until they win a finals. Until the fucking, it's like, you know, until the final buzzer fucking rings in the finals and the Knicks win, I'm not gonna get my hopes up. So there's that. You know, I'll talk about the Knicks next season because I'm a Knicks fan. It's like whatever, but yeah, I'm not getting my hopes up, and you know, I'm not gonna say I'm not paying attention no more, but I'm just like whatever. It's like fucking when the Knicks lost this year. It's like, yes, finally I could fucking move on with my life and not fucking think about this shit. But anyway, let's get back to the NBA Finals. Or whatever I was talking about before I went off on a tangent. Okay, right? What I was saying is, like, let's go back to when Halliburton made the game tying shot in game 1 to force overtime. When he did that play, which was, great play. You know what I'm saying? He's been doing incredibly great in his playoffs and finals. But yeah, when he made that shot and he crossed the bridges and whatever, that whole ill play that he did. When he made that shot, I was like, all right, man, fucking, I'm not mad at the Pacers. I'm like, at this point, may the best team win, because it's like, that's great basketball. Not just by Halliburton, by the whole team. They're playing great team basketball, and that's how they were able to win against the Thunder, who are also playing great team basketball. But the Pacers are just, I don't know, man. They're just on one right now, and at this point, I'm predicting them to win the finals, because that game 1 really gave them a lot of momentum. Now all the pressure is on OKC, because if they go down 2-0 tonight, it's pretty much over for them, and they know that. So yeah, still in that game 1 for the Pacers was great. And even that game 1, it's like the fucking Thunder were winning by like 20 or whatever, or like 14. And I was like, I wasn't watching the game, but I was like, basically what I do most of the time, even with the Knicks, I'll just go on Google and I'll just like get updates on the score. And then I'll look at the player stats and shit like that. That's kind of how I watch games now. But yeah, so I was looking at the stats during that first game in OKC. And I was like, I was like sleeping. And then I would like wake up and like check the score again and like go back to sleep. Whatever. But like, and then I was like checking the score. And then at some point I was like, all right, OKC is going to win. And then fucking, a couple hours later, I look and it's like 111-110. Pacers won. And I'm like, oh shit, it had to be another fucking game-winning shot type thing. And that's what it was. And who's to blame for Halliburton going so crazy? It's the Knicks fans that fucking threw the garbage at the Pacers fan. And also all the fucking NBA players calling him overrated, They like voted that he was the most overrated. And he's like, oh, word. Now all you niggas on your fucking podcast and all this shit gotta fucking, give me credit where it's due. Because if you don't give Halliburton credit for being a great player, and even at this point, a superstar, I think now he's a superstar. After that Knicks series, I think officially Halliburton is a superstar. And I think, yeah, those are the people that we can blame for Halliburton fucking going as crazy as he's going and all this shit. So yeah, this has easily been the best fucking playoffs in a decade at least, and yeah, this is going to be an interesting series, especially if the Thunder lose again tonight. And then I saw a post where they were talking about game one of the NBA Finals being like the least watched game one since like 1989. And I'm like, bro, that's because fucking the Knicks aren't in the finals, bro. If the Knicks made it, they would have had one of the highest watched fucking game ones ever. Maybe, if not the most fucking viewers ever. But that just goes to show how much, like, what's it called? It just goes to show how difficult it is to, I guess, market, quote unquote, small town teams or whatever, small market teams, because how the fuck is that the least watched game one of any finals when this whole fucking playoffs has been crazy as fuck? You just had the fucking Nuggets and the Thunder go to 7 games and shit. And then all the crazy shit that happened in the Pacers versus Knicks game, or series. Like, and then you got the least watched game in however many years. And I don't understand that. You know? But yeah, maybe it's just the fucking, I don't know. Maybe it's just because everyone's like streaming it online now. Because I saw a comment where it's like, I don't know what website he said, but like the guy's like, oh, it's because we're all watching it on this fucking streaming website, which was kind of funny. And it got a bunch of likes and shit. But yeah, I don't know, maybe it wasn't the least watched game. Maybe fucking everyone was just on the stream. But anyway, crushing up some weed right now. Gotta get fucking lifted. So yeah, this is gonna be a great game too. I'm probably not even gonna keep up with this game because, you know, I'm like, whatever. But yeah, I'm happy I remembered what I wanted to see. So there's probably a bunch of Knicks fans that are like fucking rooting for the Pacers to lose. But it's like, bro, even if fucking OKC has the same colors as the Knicks, if the Thunder win, that's not a fucking win for the Knicks, bro. That, I don't know how that does anything for you mentally as a Knicks fan to see the Pacers lose. It's like, oh man, the fucking, at this point, I don't care. At this point, if the Pacers win, fucking shout out to them, because I'm not even mad at them. It's a game of basketball, and it's like, may the best team win. That's where I'm at with it. And I'm actually appreciating this great basketball that's being played by the Pacers. So, yeah, there's that. My hands are like fucking sandpaper. This weed is still so sticky. But anyway, it's good to be back. And I don't know, maybe tomorrow I'll do another episode recapping UFC 316, but yeah, I don't know if I have really anything to say about that, because it was like, you know, it was Merab versus Sean O'Malley part 2, and the first fight kind of went the same way. The only difference was that Merab got the submission in the second round. But anyway, yeah, it's good to be back. And if you appreciated this episode, hit that like button, comment, share, and subscribe. Even though I don't give a fuck if you do, because this is just kind of like, this podcast is kind of like, at this point, just me fucking expressing my thoughts about sports. And if people watch, cool. If not, I don't fucking care, whatever. But yeah, if you appreciate this, hit that like button, comment, share, and subscribe. This is This What It Is? And I'm your host, Gunvid.